Hey teachers, Anna Andrews here, just doing my Teacher of the Year submission. Yeah, this is just such a cool concept, so we can get ideas from each other and yeah, just get inspired by what we're all doing. So I guess the theme of my video, if I had to pick, would be just some tips about beginners. I have a lot of beginners right now, especially on Mondays. It's like beginner bonanza. And for violin, I consider a beginner, there's a range, but I consider beginners to be anyone who's had less than 2 years of lessons. So yeah, I have a lot. And something I'm trying to incorporate into my lessons with beginners are more games, just to keep it fun for me, and then it's more fun for them, and that just makes it better for everybody. So something that a couple of different things that I like to do that are more game-like. One thing is I have just like a pile of just pennies or stickers or like tiny little fun items. And I'll put like a pile of 5 of these things on my side of the room in front of me. And then I'll put like a little line down the middle of the room with a piece of tape. And I'll be like, this is my side, and then this is your side. And then I'll give a simple task to a student. So I'll say something like, I want you to play, this measure of the song with a perfect bow hold, and I'll demonstrate so they know what I want them to do. And then I'll say, for every time that you play it with a perfect bow hold, I will move a penny or a sticker or whatever from my side of the room to your side of the room. And let me tell you guys, this is awesome. And I don't even necessarily let the students, I don't let them take my money home with them, though one did last week accidentally. But it's a really good visual representation. As they are doing something correctly, I can reinforce that without having to talk. So they'll be able to see me moving the penny from my side of the room to their side of the room. And then we just make a little contest out of it. And I'll be like, okay, let's see who can get the most coins on their side of the room at the end of this game. And they get super stoked, obviously, if they get the most. So that's really motivating, especially for reinforcing concepts that can be kind of boring to teach, like posture, or for violin, bow hold. It just gets really repetitive for us. And so it gets boring and repetitive for them. So if you can find ways for them to be aware of what they're doing without having to be like, check your bow hold or check your hand, it's just a really nice thing. Another app that I've been using for stuff like this is called Spinny Wheel. It's just an app. I have an iPhone. You can get it on your iPhone. But it's basically an app where you can program in different tasks, and then it makes this little wheel out of it. Or it could be different review songs or whatever you want your kids to be working on. And they can go home and they can actually spin the app, and it makes a cool sound, which I'm into. I don't know why, but I like it. And then whatever the app picks, they have to do. And I find that really helpful as a teacher, especially if you have a kid who's a little bit like stubborn, belligerent, doesn't want to listen to you. It's nice just to be like, well, the app picked it, so we have to do it. So I use that a lot for review, and they get really into it. Even my older kids who are like 11 or 12, they love this thing. So no complaints from me. One other more kind of just philosophical thing that I've been experimenting with this year is just getting the parents to be more involved in the lessons, especially for these young kids. I love kids, but it's like, you can talk until you're blue in the face and think you're being super helpful and giving them all of the instructions. And then they come back the next week and they're often like, oh, I didn't see that you wrote that on the notebook, or I didn't remember. And it's not even their fault, just developmentally, they often don't have the capacity to like internalize all of the stuff that we're trying to teach them. So when possible, I've really been expressing to parents that I love having them in on lessons. And I even go so far as to ask them to take notes in the lesson. And this kind of serves 2 purposes. One, it really keeps the parent involved. If you can keep the parent involved, man, you're well on your way to educating this child well. especially when they're young. So if the parent knows what you're teaching, you're not going to have to re-explain yourself 15 times. Another purpose that it serves for me is to be able to stay really singularly focused on the student. And I don't know if I'm probably just a horrible multitasker, but if I have to spend a bunch of time, I don't know, like writing down stuff in a lesson, I feel like for me, it takes away from the actual instructing that I'm doing. So I just ask the parents, if they're able to do it, and I know that parents are busy. It's like a lot of these families have a lot of kids and they bring them all to the lessons. But if they can take, even a few minutes to come into the lesson and just hear from me what we're working on, or even better, if they can sit in on the whole lesson and be able to take notes, that just helps me out so much. And I think they really, they see the value in that as well. And they get to bond with their kid. That's a really special thing. And then one other last thing that I do, I don't do this with all of my students, but wow, this curl is random. I have been incorporating just like a respectful practice into the last part of my lessons with some of my beginners. So at the end of a lesson, me and the student together, we will bow to each other, and we'll say something to the extent of, "Thank you for teaching me." And this comes from the Suzuki method, so it's more from Japanese culture, which I think values respect a little bit more than American culture does. But what I've been finding is it shows the child like that I have something to learn from them, right? That they are worthy of my time, and I'm hopefully becoming a better human being teaching them. So yeah, anyway, I think it's been really helpful. Kind of a beautiful way to acknowledge that I'm grateful for their presence in my life, and that we can voice that to each other. So anyway, looking forward to reading and seeing the rest of your submissions, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.